Again, my name is Martina Lutz, and I am at Flat Gap Elementary and all morning until mid-afternoon, and then I am itinerant at the 5 elementary schools in Johnson County. So at the time I wrote itinerant. So my guiding question for my grant was, will using manipulatives in movement help to engage students more in music class? And this is a really important question because a lot of the schools are moving from STEM to STEAM. And this is really important because what we've learned, technology and science, yes, they are the future. But what we had left out in years past is without the creative and the divergent thinkers, technology is not going to change. You need those creative and divergent thinkers in order to come up with the new and innovative ideas. And so for many years, I did not write this grant. And this is not my first grant. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, innovation does not necessarily mean technology. It's a means to get to new ways of thinking. And so one of my jobs and why music and arts are so important is I am teaching kids to think creatively. And so that led to research on how does the brain think. And I always for years had thought kids who are musical are auditory learners. And what I've found out is that kids that are musical are a combination of auditory and kinesthetic learners because of the tactileness you needed to play instruments. And so when I teach, we all are really good at using auditory. We like to talk. Teachers like to hear themselves, most of us. And we're good at visual. We like to put in those visual aids. But it's really hard sometimes to get the kinesthetic learners engaged. And so for my grant, I want to think of ways to get the kids up and moving and things in their hands that they can play with. And so for my grant, I've got lots of different materials. I'm getting boom whackers, which are tubings, colorful tubings. They're cut to different lengths, and they're basically like PVC pipes. But when they're cut to specific lengths, they will play different pitches. And you can hit them on your hand, or you can hit them with hammers, or some kids like to hit them on their heads, and that's okay as long as they hit their own head. But they're a lot of fun to play with, and you can learn how to make harmonies. If you hit a C and an E tube at the same time, you're going to get a harmony. So those are really neat. Kids like those. Scarves. Just moving to music, playing classical music and having kindergartners dance and move with scarves is going to get them up and moving and feeling and appreciating that classical music, because it's really boring sometimes. Even me, as a professionally, classically trained musician, has a hard time sitting in a chair and listening to classical music sometimes. So this will get them up and moving. Parachute games. I don't know if any of you grew up with parachute, but my PE teacher had a parachute, and there's so much you can do moving parachutes to rhythms and making patterns. So we're going to use parachutes. God bless me, we're going to use recorders. So I'm going to use recorders as a means to teach reading music instead of just standing at the board and teaching students how to read. This is a C, this is an A. We're going to learn it so that we can play it, and then we can play songs. And then there are some different rhythm instruments I'm going to get. Rhythm sticks. We're going to use rhythm sticks to learn how to count out rhythms. So instead of saying ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, we're going to actually physically count rhythms. So we're going to use all these different ways to not only learn in an auditory style, but we're also going to get our bodies involved and use a kinesthetic. Does anybody have any